Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new season of the Purposeful Life Show with your host, Adrian Starks. I'm excited to share some new updates of the show with you, starting with a new look, sound, and energy, as well as a variety of guests coming aboard with intriguing topics of conversation. I hope you enjoy the new level of energy that will be brought to the show. Thank you for all of your support since the very beginning in 2019. Wow, it's been 3 years already? Because of you, the Purposeful Life Show is now in the top 5% of all podcasts globally, and we aim to get it into the top 1%. Continue listening to the show and share it with others. You can also now listen to the show on my Facebook page at Adrian Starks, where you can comment in real time and communicate with me about your aha moments. Thank you again for all of your support, and let's make this one hell of a year and be purposeful about doing that. Wishing you all much love and success. Are you wanting to start a business or improve the business that you currently have? The marketplace of our society sees a plethora of new products, new ideas, new innovations on a daily basis, but often they are not taken as seriously or as beneficial as they could be. A lot of this comes down to branding and being consistent with what is being revealed. What if there is another layer behind the branding that you are currently missing that could take your business to the next level to reach your ideal clients? This could improve your finances, and we all want that, your time, and ability to become more effective in what you love to do. Stay tuned to learn more about the secret behind your brand that could be damaging your business. Hi, my name is Adrian Starks, and welcome to the Purposeful Life Show on the Champion Up Podcast. This podcast is for the courageous creators wanting to create a life of meaning, adventure, and fulfillment, all while helping to make the world a better place. I'm happy you're here, and if you're new to our show, make sure to give us that 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. Also, connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Champion Up. It is always that one idea that could be your breakthrough. It's time to step into your courage and believe the champion in you. Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Champion Up Podcast, the Purposeful Life Show. I am your host. My name is Adrian Starks, and I'm excited to have you back for another amazing episode here. But before we get going with this episode, make sure to go to the App Store, type in the word Champion Up, and get that free Champion Up app for download. Give us that 5-star rating as well, and subscribe to the show so you don't miss out on the amazing content coming to you weekly. Today's topic is a good one. We're going to talk about building successful brands. And is your message clear with your brand? I know a lot of you may be thinking, is my message clear? Do I have the right brand? Am I branding the right way? We're going to find out from a very special person today, a specialist. Her name is Caitey Gilchrist. And Caitey is an award-winning entrepreneur, a Frankenbrand Slayer, and creative for life. As the founder of a successful brand strategy business, Caitey has built kick-ass brands for a wide range of companies and entrepreneurs, including coaches, marketers, financial advisors, and more. With clients raving about her thoughtfulness and breadth of knowledge, Caitey is passionate about helping businesses and individuals uncover their authentic brand identities. She's dedicated to connecting human beings to their purpose, power, and people, and empowers entrepreneurs to use their core message to create freedom in their lives and businesses. Caitey, can you say hello to our audience?
Hey, everybody. Adrian, thanks so much for having me on today.
Oh, well, thank you as well, Caitey. We're excited to have you on, and I'm curious to hear more about the Frankenbrand and all these great things that I'm hearing about you and how you've been helping people across the world with building their brands the right kind of way. But before we get into a lot of these good information here, can you explain to the audience a little bit more about exactly what you do?
Sure. Well, I am a brand strategist. I'm a speaker, entrepreneur, and I run a brand strategy business called Caitey Gilchrist Creative. Mm-hmm. And really what I do is I help entrepreneurs determine their authentic brand's message. And that's all about connecting them to their ideal clients, to the opportunities, and to the partnerships that are really going to be a good fit for their business.
Amazing. You mentioned authentic brand, and we'll get into that a little bit later too. But why did you decide upon this service of helping entrepreneurs to attract their ideal clients or their authentic brands? And what does it mean to actually have an authentic brand?
Well, I actually started my business as a brand design business. And one thing that I discovered as I was doing the graphic design and creating these beautiful visuals is I realized that the relationship that people have with these brand identities was stopping at that design. And so I realized that it could go so much deeper than that. And so that's when I started diving into brand strategy, because I realized that when we're able to pull out what really makes that entrepreneur unique and what their big purpose is, we're able to connect on such a deeper level. And so that's really what attracted me to that. And really having an authentic brand is about going deeper. Okay. It's about looking at what makes you you, what you believe in, and connecting to people based off that, not just based off products and services, but really going deeper into who you are as a human being.
Ooh, light bulb moment. Okay. Going deeper into who you are as a human being. And that's part of the connection to having an authentic brand, because as you mentioned, it's not about just the products and services, which a lot of people get wrapped up in, but it's more about you and their identity to you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you're known as the Frankenbrand Slayer, and I love that, Frankenbrand Slayer. Can you explain to our audience about this catchy concept?
Oh, sure. When I started my business, I noticed that there are a lot of brands out there that seemed kind of patchwork together. Like there's so many different messages, different graphics. And I thought to myself, man, it's like Frankenstein's monster. It's a brand that has been patched together with all of these random pieces that just don't work well together. And so as a Frankenbrand Slayer, I help my clients clarify which pieces actually belong to their brand and which pieces maybe don't quite represent their message. And we patch it together in a way that makes sense.
Okay. So for our audience listening today, this is very important that Caitey just said here, because if your business, do you have things just patched together and they don't really make sense? Like I, for one, I'm going to raise my hand to this one, multiple things going on. And there is this skewed message, like, what do you do? Who are you really? And that is what Caitey means by the Frankenbrand of just having things together. But what she's really wanting to do is help you out there to really bring something together that is connected, that does show your authenticity. And what I love about your work, Caitey, is that you actually get behind the mirror of the brand and you find its true reflection, which is the message. And that is so important for us all to know. So if the message is not seen as clear, could this be a problem for someone running a business?
Absolutely. And it's something that I see a lot of people struggle with. And actually, when you have a message that isn't clear, there's actually a lot of resistance that's created in your business.
Okay.
So resistance on an internal level, as in you're putting out a brand that doesn't feel right. And so you might find yourself facing that imposter syndrome. You might have a challenge marketing yourself and saying why you're different. And externally, it has a lot of resistance as well, because as human beings, we have pretty fine-tuned BS meters too. So if we're looking at something that isn't a true representation of that business, you know what? Even if it's just on an unconscious level, we pick up on it. And so it can create so much resistance for the business owner, but also for the people who are experiencing that brand. So knowing your message is absolutely key to get over that.
Oh, that is so important. And for the audience listening today, and including myself, just to be mindful of your brand and what messages are giving out there to the people that are looking at it. Are you pushing people away, the actual people that you want to bring into your business, by not having a clear message? And this is so important for us to really get down. So Caitey, you have a podcast called Authentic Brand with Caitey Gilchrist. Very easy to remember, guys, which I encourage everyone to download and to listen to, because I've had a chance to listen to these episodes and just blew my mind. You know, actually in one episode, Caitey, you mentioned that successful brands aren't chameleons. I love that. So are you saying that unsuccessful brands, they change too often, and this is a step away from building trust with your potential clients, if that's the case?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find that there are a couple different kinds of ways where people are chameleon brands.
Okay.
The first way is through their visuals. You know, the people who change their logo every 6 months because they're not quite happy with it. And that can cause a lot of disconnect, because branding and brand recognition is all about repetition.
Okay.
So if you're not putting out the same things over and over again, whether it's your message or your logos, it's going to be really hard for people to recognize your brand.
Okay, so Caitey, can you go back one more there? You mentioned that you had something you said really good. It was a phrase, it was something about brand repetition. You mentioned it earlier.
Sure. Well, brand recognition is all about repetition. Okay. So that's really probably what I said.
Yes, brand recognition is all about brand repetition. And for our audience, write that down. And Caitey, continue.
Sure. So the same goes for your message as well. And so when I was talking about my podcast about the chameleon brand, it's kind of if you imagine yourself going to a networking event and there's a whole different bunch of people at this networking event. And for each person, you find yourself adapting your personality, adapting your message, and it can be exhausting because you're trying to mirror everything that you're seeing. But the problem is that when you're trying to put out your brand on a big platform too, like social media or your website, you don't have that opportunity to have 30,000 different messages. And it can cause a bit of a disconnect when people come back to you and say, hey, this isn't what I heard before. So it's really about embracing your natural message and not taking on the message of everyone around you so that people can remember you and recognize you.
Excellent. I love that. So for someone starting out in a business and they're looking at what step can I take right now to make sure I do this the right way? Is it coming up with a logo and being very consistent with my logo? Don't change the logo. As you mentioned before, don't be a chameleon with the logos. Or is it being clear about the message from the beginning?
100% get clear on your message first, because that will direct everything else you're doing, including your logo design.
Okay. And why is this so important for the audience to know about getting the message clear first?
Well, kind of like I was talking about earlier about there being a lot of resistance when you don't have an authentic brand. The same goes if you don't establish your message first, you end up putting out a bunch of stuff that isn't necessarily a good representation of your business. Okay. And it can be really hard for people to understand what you're all about. And here's the thing, Adrian, is human beings, we don't want to have to work for it. We want to see something and we want to understand it right away. And if we don't understand it, we're probably going to turn the page or change the channel or whatever it is and go on to something else. So it's really important that you have it crystal clear right from the beginning.
That's so true. And Caitey, I'm so glad you're enlightening us with this powerful experience that you have and the strategies in this business, because I had people telling me that, well, I like your page, but what is it really about? And that scared me because I had these messages. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm giving off the wrong messages here. And that is something that we can do without really knowing it. So everyone just need to be mindful. Go to your social media pages, go to your websites, and just look at what is your take when you see your own material. Do you really know your core message behind it? And Caitey, you've been in this business for over a decade. I'm pretty sure you've seen a lot of different things from people being in this business. What are some common mistakes that you have seen throughout your experiences of working with some of the most successful entrepreneurs with branding?
I think one of the biggest mistakes is backwards branding. So completing your brand in a weird order. And so a lot of times that starts with entrepreneurs doing their logo first, which they then find they have to change 6 months down the road because it doesn't actually represent their message. And sometimes that comes from people looking at their products and their services and looking at their target audience and building their brand around what they think their audience is all about. And that can be a problem because if you're building your brand around what you think other people want to see from you, it is really hard to maintain and it's exhausting. And it can also help you attract clients who aren't necessarily the right fit. So if you're tailoring your branding to a group of people that aren't your ideal audience, it can be tough. But if you create your brand and create your message first, then you're naturally and organically attracting people who appreciate that message or who want to be a part of that movement that you're creating. So that's probably one of the biggest ones is backwards branding.
That's so true because I'm thinking about this in my head because most people, including myself in the beginning, we think, well, what does the audience want? Or what does my clientele, what do they want from me? And that is a message that you're going to be giving the wrong way because you're constantly trying to redefine what they want versus what you can provide and naturally attract that particular audience, as you just mentioned before. because of your consistency with your branding and knowing what your message is. It reminds me, I think there's a lot of great companies out here that have been around for a long time. And I think that one of the companies I'm going to use an example is Apple, and how they first started out in the very beginning. Their message was very just simple, and people gravitated toward that message. Their message was basically, it's about you, the individual. And throughout the time frame of Apple, they've been keeping that message the same. And that's why there's so many people who are continuously supporting. And other companies are doing the same thing too. So in this business of building your business, it's important to have a very core message and to know what it is and what you're giving to your audiences out there. And as Caitey mentioned, to attract them the right way, because there is a system of trust. And you mentioned this earlier, Caitey, about the BS, right? The BS the checkpoint we have inside of us, like, oh, this person, they're not true. They're not real. They're just always changing. I'm not going to listen to them. And people think that. And so you have to be very careful, make sure that you're not giving off that message. Caitey, you know so much and you have so much experience, but have you ever made any mistakes along this journey? And if so, can you recall one?
Oh, yeah. Of course, who hasn't made mistakes? I'd say the biggest mistake was when I first started my business. Before I was embracing the authentic branding, I was really building my business around what I thought other people wanted to see. And so for me, I was working with business to business. And so I thought that, okay, I have to portray a very business-like aesthetic and personality. And so I used all the big words and I came across super serious. And the other thing I had working against me is when I started doing all this, I was only 19. And so I had to fight that she's too young to know what she's talking about problem. And so I think I overcompensated by being so strategically business. And what happened is I still got business from it, but the relationships I had with my clients were very transactional. And so I kind of regret that because I didn't have an opportunity to get to know them on a deeper level. And I didn't share any personal information about myself. I didn't let my personality really come through. And again, it created that internal resistance and it made it really hard to market myself because I was trying to lean into what I thought other people wanted to see from me. So that's probably the biggest mistake I made.
Yeah. Mistakes, they definitely happen, especially when you're building something as grand as what you were doing. And the fact that you learned from that was so important. I've made mistakes too as well. And I can definitely agree with you on this. When I first started out in my business, I really wanted to tap into every group I could because I just really wanted to serve as many people as I could possibly. But I learned really fast that, that's not going to work, Adrian. you're going to spin around here in circles. And I had to really get clear about what I really wanted to do and how I wanted to serve and who I wanted to serve. And I think there's a part of us as entrepreneurs, and I'm going to say this because I feel this way, that when we start off, we're wanting things for the wrong reasons. We're wanting to have a successful business and we're wanting to, of course, make the money and create that independence, but we don't understand the rules of you create this independence by longevity and by consistency. And what you're doing with this authentic branding, Caitey, is you're helping people do it the right way, because that way will allow them to build the independence to their business, because they will have a loyal following of people who are going to continuously go back to them. And that's just so important. Where were you when the idea of creating a business based on authentic branding came to you? Like, were you eating breakfast? Were you at the dinner table saying, hey, I think I'm going to come up with a business called, authentic branding? Where were you when this happened, Caitey?
I think this was there was no single moment. It was really like a very long realization over probably about 10 years. But what it really came down to for me, I think, is when I was starting my business, and even before that, I had a really hard time building connections with people. And I'm talking about those real human connections, because I was afraid to put my real self out there. It was kind of a protection. But there's a lot of disconnect there. And so when I started experimenting in my business with putting more of myself out there, and I saw the amazing feedback and how it was transforming my business, I realized that this is where it has to go. It's all about authenticity, because we don't want to work with businesses. We want to work with people. And if you can show through your brand that you are a real person, that you are authentic and raw and human, that goes a long way. So probably a long realization there, but it was definitely one worth having.
And you really gave me some ideas of here when you mentioned about we don't want to work with businesses, we want to work with people. So that just hit me, because I believe that when you're operating from a business perspective and you're thinking, okay, well, they want to work with me because of my business. No, they want to work with you because of you. And how you run your business is going to be effective on how they see you further. So it's about what do people see through you. And I love the fact that you're bringing in this authenticity. And you mentioned in your story about being afraid to reveal yourself, right? And I think that you have a very special thing that you're doing here, because not only are you helping people to develop an authentic brand, you're helping them to realize their authenticity, which they need to do to show up out here in the businesses of their lives and even their personal lives. Did you have a moment when you thought that this is a good idea? But of course, we go through all challenges, right? Did you ever have a moment where you thought, hey, this may not work out and maybe I should return back to what I was doing before?
You know what? I honestly haven't, because when I decided to lean full-time into doing this, into being a brand strategist and doing my business, I realized how incredible it is that when you're an entrepreneur, when you're running a business, the only person that puts limitations is yourself. And I think you said that the other day, and it's true. When you're filling in a role or a position at a job, sometimes you're often restricted by salary caps or hours of the day and that kind of thing. But when you're running your own business, it's really up to you how far you can go. And so I'm addicted to that freedom. And I can't imagine myself doing anything different other than what I'm doing now.
Oh, I love that. See, this is why you are a courageous creator, Caitey. I loved your answer. And you mentioned too about the limitations, and I agree with you on that. I also believe that, we have self-imposed limitations, the things that we hide behind because we don't want to go that extra step or go into the unknown. And I remember working on a 9-to-5 job. And when I walked out of there, oh my goodness, I did not look back. I was like, I am done. I want my freedom. And I was building the business as I was working my 9-to-5, but I was creating an exit strategy. And when I left there, people were asking me, what's going to happen? What are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do the same thing I did before I got here. Live. And I'm doing it now. And I love it. And this is what we want for all of you out here. If you really want to build a business and create the lifestyle that you want and have that personal freedom that Caitey talks about, you've got to get crystal clear on what your message is and start this off the right way. So, Caitey, out of the multiple experiences of what you've gone through with your business, what is the number one thing that you feel helped you to reach a successful business over the decade?
Hands down, mentorship from other people. Having a group of people to support me, a coach, a mentor, other people who do what I do, that is what got me to the next level. Because we get so stuck in our own heads sometimes, stuck in our own way, that sometimes we really need those other people around to show us, to pull us out of it and support us as we're going through this journey.
I am just floored by that answer and this is so important because we all use mentors and coaches. Some of us don't want to admit it, but hey, we're going to go ahead and put it out here. Everyone needs mentors and coaches, even your greatest successful people out here on the planet that people look to and say, oh, they have everything. They have coaches and mentors. I mean, some of your greatest speakers out here have mentors. They have coaches. Some of your greatest talk show hosts, they have mentors, coaches, musicians. We can go on with this list. But Caitey, you had mentors and coaches, and that is what has allowed you to really keep your vision clear and to really help you through those obstacles because they come with the territory of creating your best life and creating your business. So what words of wisdom can you provide to our audience that can help them to take the initial first step today into the unknown of doing what they love to do and create some impact in this world?
I think the number one thing to start with is know your purpose. Really take the time to figure out why you want to do this and what that impact is going to be on the world, because that's going to change everything that you do going forward. Because when you wake up every day with a sense of purpose and that clear vision, it changes everything. It makes things so much easier, and it makes it so much clearer who you need to connect to, whether it be an opportunity or a person or whatever that thing may be. So get clear on your purpose first.
Get clear on your purpose. And there are many people across the world who they're like, what is my purpose and why? They have all these questions. And it's important that they know their purpose. And this is the other courageous part of this too, Caitey, that our audience needs to know, because I think that I was this way before. I was like, okay, what is my purpose? What am I going to do here? And I spent so much time asking, as opposed to investigating. Like you were mentioning, get clear on it. Investigate. What is it that you really like to do? And don't think about the money right now. That's where you get stuck. Think about, what do you want to do and how do you want to serve this planet while you're here? What talent or gift do you have right now that you can really offer out here? And then once you figure that out and you really want to do it, dive in. Get the mentors, as Caitey mentioned, get the coaches, and to find out how to create a system for that. Mm-hmm. And so, Caitey, I just love the fact that you're here today. And I really want our audience to be able to continuously learn from you and to find out about how they can continue to stay authentic in their brand. Because I know that, usually sometimes you can get caught off, guard, or you can start comparing yourselves and changing your ideas and your logos because you're trying to keep up with people. So how can people literally keep up with you and to learn more about you? Is there any places they can go, like social media, websites?
Oh yeah, social media is probably the best place to find extra branding resources, learn what I'm up to in my business. So just look for Caitey Gilchrist Creative on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Basically, I'm everywhere. That's probably the best way. Or you can check out some of my other branding resources at CaiteyGilchrist.com.
Excellent. And I would encourage you all to go to those resources and to learn more from Caitey. She's absolutely amazing. And once again, being in this business for this time frame, she's learned so much and continues to empower so many people and entrepreneurs. And we are talking people who already have successful businesses, and they're coming to Caitey to get more help to become more successful. So if you're wanting to become successful more in what you do, Caitey is a person to go to. So Caitey, we have come to this point of the show that I'm always excited about. And this is called the Courageous Creator question. Are you ready for it?
Oh yeah, bring it on.
All right. This is why I like Caitey. She's like, bring it. Okay. So Caitey, what does success mean to you?
For me, success is an internal feeling of fulfillment and freedom.
Ooh, okay. Internal feeling of fulfillment and freedom. Okay. And this could be different for everyone.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, there you have it. Success is the internal feeling of freedom and fulfillment. So today's show, everyone, think about your brand. And are you doing it the back way, or are you doing backwards branding, as Caitey mentioned earlier? Are you just thinking about a logo? Are you being a chameleon with your business saying, oh, I'm going to change my logo to fit this business or to do this? Don't do that. Think about what is your core message and get very clear about that. So go to your sites today and see, what is the message? Ask people out there to go to your sites and say, what do you get when you're looking at my website or my social media? What's the feeling behind it? Get that feedback from people, and then find people such as Caitey or other people who can help you get behind the mirror and see what you're really giving out there to people. Because right now, I think a lot of us, or a lot of you out here, you may have a very unclear message. And this is causing the BS radar, as Caitey mentioned, to go off in people. And they're like, hey, I like you, but I don't really think I can trust you. And trust is the name of the game in this industry. You may think that, well, it's business. No, it's relationships. So they have to trust you first before they can provide their time to you. So I want you all to think about authentic branding. And are you being authentic? Caitey, I want to thank you so much for being on our show today as a courageous creator, because you're creating so much impact in the world, and we are happy to have you here.
Thank you, Adrian. This has been absolutely awesome.
You're welcome. And thank you too, Caitey. And to our audience out here, I encourage you all to be that courageous creator in your life. This is the Purposeful Life Show and the Champion Up Podcast with myself, Adrian Starks, and thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed our podcast today, don't forget to give us that 5-star rating and subscribe to the show so you don't miss out on the powerful life-changing content on future episodes. Also, make sure to go to championup.net for even more life-changing content. Until then, I encourage you to be the courageous creator in your life.